Okay, hey guys, and welcome to part three of this series where we build a Web3 mobile wallet. So, welcome once again, and let's get started. In the first two parts of the series, we started with scaffolding the project, make sure we have everything we need to work. And so far, so good. We've been able to make progress in the part one of the series, in the part two of the series as well. And today, which is the part three of the series, we are going to make double the progress, if not triple the progress of what we did yesterday. So we already know our focus for this. We are building, these are the features we are trying to implement. Smart wallets, sign up using our email, which we completed yesterday, gas sponsorship, batch transactions, and some AI functionalities as well. So far we already have this implemented, and we already have a UI we are working with. So we already have a UI design system that we want to work with, which is already sound enough. And based on what we have now, currently, like I said yesterday after the call, I said we're going to proceed from where we stopped. But I was going to try to set up the um, UI or the UI library that we are going to use and the design system generally. So we already know that this is the view we are going with. This is the pattern we are going with. We already have like a template, a even though it's not like maybe it's not a Figma link, yeah, but this is an existing wallet that I built that is on the Chrome store. So we're just building a mobile app for it. But this one is going to be for mainnet wallets that you can actually use for securing your wallet because it's powered by very secure Alchemy setups and infrastructure that we don't really need to worry about a lot of things, but we need to still implement our own layer of security on top of it, right? Putting checks and guards in place to ensure that everything works as it should. So we already have that in place. And then I've been able to get this to work. Like I said yesterday, I've been able to ensure that we have whatever we need, right? It's working now. I mean, in terms of the tailwind, got them the you see something like this here. And then basically this is just me trying to see if, like I said, I was going to set it up so we can proceed. And then I'm going just like we did yesterday. And remember what we did was we created the wallet using my email. I signed in using my email. I will get a the OTP that I'm going to use to sign in. And once I sign using that OTP, basically everything works, right? And then we know that I'll just see the wallet has been created for me. And if a wallet has been created for me before, I'm just going to see that, like literally going to see the same thing today. So let's try it and see if everything works well. So I'm going to use the same. Um, this is the email I used yesterday for just a demo email. So I'm going to sign in using this email, and if I do, I'm going to get an OTP. So everything goes well. I'm supposed to receive an OTP, and the OTP is supposed to be my validator or what is going to be used to check my account exit. Then I should get the same email as yesterday. So I just received the and it is this. Okay, so if I verify this, I should see that I have an account created for me with the same balance I had yesterday. Literally the same thing. You can remember we added this balance yesterday, which was 0.02. I sent it from this from my other account, right? From this Chrome extension. Like I said, this is the Chrome extension equivalent of the wallet we are building. But from here, saying that yesterday, if you could remember, let me log in again. So, which is we have like this here, and I was able to send this yesterday. If you go to the history, we should see the transaction history from what we sent yesterday, which is we sent 0.0002, which you can see here 0.0002. And if you check the transaction details also, you'll see that we sent it to 8441, which is the same address you can see here, BA16. So it means that we have literally the same thing we have, which you did yesterday, and you can see the synergy between the interfaces, right? So what we are trying to do is, as beautiful as this interface you see on your screen is, we are trying to replicate it in a mobile view. You can see everything makes sense and it's cool and it's beautiful and it's nice and all of those things. So today we are going to be moving fast, right? We've gone 7 minutes into the video. We're going to be moving fast as possible, using AI to speed up our workflow, but making sure we have the screens, all the screens we need implemented and from start to finish, every simple screen we need, even if not fully integrated, we need to complete them today so that in part 4 of the series, we can work on some new features and then complete integrations in the part 4, then add some cleanup part 5, and add some other functionality part 6. And the way it is planned is we should be able to get this done before the seventh part of this video, right? So this is the interface we are going with, right? You can see this simple but beautiful interface is what we are going with, and it makes a lot of sense. So we are going to be using this. We are going to implement the home page, which you already kind of have here. We are going to make it better. We are going to implement the accounts page. Then we are going to proceed to implement the send page, right? Then the history, and then the settings page. So we are going to have these 5 pages implemented. That's our focus for today. So we already had them yesterday, account send history settings page, and then the home page. So what I'm going to do first of all is to create this down menu we have here, right? In this case, how do we do that? So like I said, they already set up this library for us that we can use, right? So we can actually use all of these libraries. I've already started installing all the packages we need, like the button code. You need to still install the library so that you can use them. But bear in mind that if you're familiar with ShardCN, this is basically like ShardCN. So this is basically like ShardCN, like I was saying. And because of that, we know that we have everything we need ready and set up. So we don't have any we don't have any issues on with customization or any other thing. But everything works as supposed to, right? So that's what we are trying to implement today. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need is like I said, we need this, right? We need this bottom navigation menu, right? Which is this one. So two things I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to be fast as possible here. And like I said, I already implemented this, right? We already implemented this. I'm just going to tweak it, get the design, so I don't need to implement it and then make use of it. So going back there, I'm going to copy it because I already tried to speed up here. So I'm going to go to where I implemented it. Where is it here? So I'm going to copy the code for that particular bottom view, or let me say the bottom navigation in this case. What I need, so I'm going to look for history. If I'm not mistaken, what's the fastest way to find that? Navigation. Yeah. So this is it. So I'm going to go to navigation. I'm going to try closing this, right? And if I'm not mistaken, this is the one we have. This is what we used for the bottom navigation, right? Initially. So we need some basic things to work for us because we need to know, as you can see here, these are a lot of stores we had. Like I said in the initial, that was yesterday in the part 2 of the series that the the extension, which is this that you guys can see here, uses Radix. So, and being that ShardCN builds on top of Radix, we are using something similar to ShardCN. So we assume that the design syntax, just like we have. So, yeah, so that's basically today, and it should be straightforward. It should be easy for us to pick up and then copy this because I need similar stuff. I know that it doesn't really work perfectly, like line by line for everything we want, but it's easy to tweak it, and then we are using the same design. So I'm just going to copy this navigation. I'm going to copy the component as a whole. I'm going to close because I think my system is just there's a lot of things open in my system currently, so I don't want it to get to that point where it crashes. And so I'm going to copy this to components, right? I'm going to copy the navigation to components because we have the navigation, and there are a lot of things that will not work. Yes, there are a lot of things missing. We don't have the nav link. We don't have some of the icons, right? We don't have the wallet. We don't have the send. We are going to be using the expo icons that are available for us to use. So I'm not going to be using Radix or the icon this or that. So of this, basically, I'm going to need the React. The recovery acid phrase functionality is going to doesn't exist yet, but we are going to use that. So I'm going to comment all of this out just for now. So we don't need any of this. We do not need any of this. Let me just use network type. Yeah, we have this. But like I said, we are going to stick with some other things, right? So this is where AI is going to like assist us in making our work easy because um, we still need to create our store, which we are going to create today, and some other things we need. So first thing I'm going to create is we don't have the nav link in this case. So we are not using the nav link, we are just using the link, right? Since we are using Expo, so it's going to be href in this case and leads us to the home page. So Expo, yeah, the link is coming from Expo router, which is fine. So I need to fix the button as well. So I'm just trying to move fast here. I'm just jumping into the code because assuming if you are coming from the first part of the series, or even if you have not watched any part of the series, you can pick up from where we stop. This is what we've done so far. So there's no need for setup anymore. But if you follow the setup also, congratulations, you've known how to do that yourself if you have to start that. So we have all of this basically. We can we can implement this. What's the error here? Okay, let's get this also. So I'm going to import text from that's from the Shartian component text. Then I'm going to change anyway. I'm going to convert it to link. So it's going to be link because it's going to be expo router link. So anyway, I see it like this, I'm going to also change it to href because at the end of the day, it's basically the same thing. So all of this should be fine. We don't have swap, yeah, but we still implement that as well. So in this case, we don't have swap, which we really don't have here. So I'm going to comment this out because we don't need all of this for now. It'll just be ambiguous. We don't need the ambiguity for now. So I'm going to remove all the as child property that exists also because we're using a different design language here, which this gives us this heavy error that I don't know where it's coming from. It's weird. So the class name here, which is this, we can't use this because sense, but we need to be able to treat ourselves this all of those things. So we can work with buttons. If I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, this should work with button shots from the React if it does have this property. I'm not sure entirely if it does have that property, but we can get it to work. So in our use case, we're not going to use this. We're going to like remove this because we don't have the same. And just remove that. So I'm just going to remove all of those things. Here on the bottom. Okay, yes. I'm going to for those ones that have the properties. I'm just going to remove them. We don't need them for now. No, we actually need them. Okay, for now I'm just going to leave it commented out. All the ones with hidden, I'm going to comment them out because we don't need them, but we are going to let me do this. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out as well. That's the receive. We don't need receive here because we already plan to have that somewhere else. Then the transactions similar to history. Okay, I'm going to change this from transactions to history because I prefer having that. So just to remove this error. So this is what we are working with today, and then you can see this. We have this fine receipt text. We don't have receipt, so I'm going to use our own icons. Like I said, we are using the React Native default icons. I'm going to call it receipt. Yeah. So since we are using the receipt like we did before, so I'm going to be using that. So as backup, like I said, we don't have that implemented. We need to implement those as a store, but for now we need to implement the pages we need. First, talking about all the stores and the functionalities. Next thing I'm going to do, which I should do naturally, should be the implement the stores, but I won't do that now. Let's focus on things first. Get that out of the way. Once we get that displayed, we have our theme and icons and settings all done. Then we can proceed to this. So as you can see, set sign up and login already works, right? So I want to work with a dark mode design system. So basically, I'm going to go back to layout since we already have all of those things implemented. Let me restructure this. This is just too terrible the way it looks. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the layout and we are going to set the theme to just be a dark theme, like basically just dark. It doesn't really need to set it. So it's just going to be dark theme by default. Okay, so let's leave it as dark, like generally dark, right? But this, I think this has its own background color, the home page, which is the main index page, if I'm not mistaken, has its background color to be white. So we are not using any background color currently, so you should maintain the black color theme. But we can't do that here because it's just a whole lot of tracking stuff. So now we are going to remove this neat text. I'm going to import text from let's copy that somewhere from the navigation. I'm going to change the navigation to like change the name from a lowercase to an uppercase because it's a component. So I like using lowercase for my components. I think it's a convention. So I'm going to as text that we're going to be using. We are going to be using the text from the reusable now, the styled system that we are using. So that's basically the text we have in this case. So every text we have, we are going to remove all the black colors, all the colors that the texts do have. The text have colors here. No. So we assume that all the text should pick from the colors, but they are not. They still retain the actual colors. Super weird. So let's say the user text has a background color of this, border color of this, border with this, and that's basically it. So why is it not working? Why is it giving me this second color? Okay, let's see. So I think it's from the layout. I did some things here the other time. Okay, so I'm going to comment that out if I'm not mistaken. Remember the loader we implemented yesterday? Yeah, that's still there. So the safe area view was what we implemented and added yesterday too, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I should put this here inside of this and see what happens. Does it affect it? No, it doesn't. So background color should be dark dot colors dot background. I think that should work. So you can see the background color for safe area view 2 maintains the dark theme, which is cool, right? We can decide not to use the theme and use the whole concept that we have here, which still works, right? For the safe area view, basically, that's basically still works for us for our use case. And yeah, we're still good to go. We are still on the same track, right? For whatever we want, but we don't want the dark. We don't want the light theme currently. I want it to be just dark theme. So there, we can configure the dark theme like copy from another of my projects that will be theme. So I'm just going to copy that in the index page, right? I'm just copy that from the index page. So I think it's already in the signing page. So it's just a matter of moving it from here, copying it here, and pasting it into this place. But remember, we have this menu button here. So I'm going to add this beside the menu button, and that should be the layout, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so that should be added to the layout, which is the one that presses that. Where is it? Where is the iron icon? Feather menu. Yeah. So the feather menu. So this has like a by the right side, you can see the header contains the feather menu. So we want that. So I'm going to remove the background from this place also. So it aligns with the background that we want to work with. Any white background is generally going to be removed. And the colors. So we're going to make sure our colors to align with what we want to do currently, right? So the color of this is defined as black. So we don't want that to be black. We want it to be feather was gotten from vector icons feather, okay, which is fine. I want the color to be. Can I text foreground? I think foreground works. Foreground doesn't work for me. Why? Okay, so the reason is because we are still using the light theme. If you can see the status bar on this one are light themes. So I'm going to copy the button for the theme here, and then I'm going to uncomment this one so that I can set it to dark theme by default. Let's see, does it display? No, it doesn't. Why? The button is there. The button is there. The theme toggle is there. Yeah, perfect. So it should work. So the pressable, the close button wrapper height is this, and this is the oh, okay, see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it out of the pressable, right, and add it outside. So we should have it somewhere around here. Come on, where are you? So menu this width is 100, background color is this. So we have the size to the icon. So I'm just going to leave it like this to see what we have. Margin left this we have this to be padding horizontal 2020, and okay, why is it not working currently? Come on, this should be by the right actually. This oh Sorry about this. It should not be here. It should be inside the other one. No wonder it's not working. I was just wondering why. So this is for the menu, right? This is for the actual menu. If you click the menu, you can see that you can see the black reflecting and working with this, right? So that's basically why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the same thing there and paste it inside of this place. So you should see that here. You can see that black thing here. So, but I'm going to change that. This is what we have. So this is what we have. The size is icon. So this should work here, and we can see this, right? So if you see that, you can see that it automatically changes it to the dark theme on clicking it, and the text also aligns. So that means everything works perfectly well. So what I need to just do here to make it work perfectly is to change the variant to the ghost, and we're good to go. So if I change the icons, it remains what it needs to be. So that's perfect, right? Because I don't know if it aligns with this yet, but I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to leave the menu for now, just for now. I'm going to see settings, basically, to have the already have a setting view for things that we are going to use practically for the use case. But for now, we're just going to stay here until we set up all the screens. So when we are done setting up the screens, we should move the theme to the settings, then we can configure from there, and everything should be fine. So now our page is shaping up. Two things we need to do also. I don't like the fonts. We need to change the font. So I'm going to pick a font that I downloaded, I want to use, add that to the font, and then we make use of it 100%. No issues. Straight up, we are good. All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, what's the next thing to do? The next thing to do here is to change this also to follow the color, which means to remove the background here and here. So that means we need to set the eyes here to be the theme toggle color to maintain not just the color of whatever they use, but okay, it's supposed to. Why is it not maintaining the color? So this should be text foreground, and text is coming from. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the text. I'm going to put it inside the text and assume it's going to take in. So I'm going to copy that from here, copying text from here, picking it from button. So I'm changing it from button to text and changing it to text. So we have our text. I'm going to do the same for text. And so we have this, right? So the class name for here should automatically align. You can see it will take in the color, the background color of the parent itself. So that's why I'm adding the text as the parents to it. So it should just automatically take in the color of the parent. So if I do this and it changes the color, it should be black automatically. But because we've changed that color to be the dark mode, it's going to just override it. So I need to change that back. I want the color to not just be black by default, but based on the color we set. So I'm going to change this back to theme, right? Change this back to theme. So if I do this, automatically picks the black. If I do this, picks the light mode, light mode, dark mode. Okay, so going back to the theme toggle again, I'm going to variant. It's going to no, there's no need for variant here because we just need that to work basically. So I'll go back to the app layout for the text for the feather itself. The feather has a style color which I want it to replicate. Right. So when I click the menu here, it does this, but I don't want it to. So what we want to do is we want it to follow this color scheme that we already said. So I'm going to also add the text to this. So I want it to align with the color of the text by default, right? So if I do this, what happened? Oh no, it's not. It doesn't exist. Sorry. Don't complain. Okay, so yeah, you can see. So this works. So two more things we need to do. I need this to align together. I want them to stay on the same path. So I don't want this one to just I don't want the close button wrapper here to just align whatever I want. So I want that to happen within the header, and well, that makes sense. I don't really have a problem with it. But what I'm going to do here is just to create another style right here, and I'm going to call it okay, I'm going to call it okay, no, there's no need for this. Literally no need for this. I'm just going to wrap this with margin left for this guy, which I don't even need to configure. I'll just configure the class name to be ML auto. and that means it should position like this. But then this still doesn't work the way we want because I want it to be flex and flex row and item center and okay, no need for justify, and then everything makes sense like this. So we want this to be row and row, but want the justification. Okay, let's justify it to be end. So everything goes to the left. But currently, this is going to remain in the center because of the way we set it. And the width for this is 100%. That's why it's not allowing this. The header is 100%, as you can see. So if you remove the header from being 100%, just the way we have it here, where's it again? Yes, here, right? So now this works. And so that means we are overriding this. We are overriding basically everything here. And so I think it's okay like this. You can leave it this way. We can have the theme here and then the menu here. Same thing applies to when we click here. We can have the theme and the menu. So let's change that also to align with what we have here. So I'm going to remove this button also and call it variant. Variant is going to be ghost variant. So it doesn't have that. So we click on this, it maintains the same thing. And what else? What else? The button should be the same, literally, icon and variant. Then the menu header container should align with what we also have there. So we have what else? What am I missing? It feels like something is missing. Okay, that's the color. It maintains the color bar. Okay, yeah. So the color that I felt was missing, but it's not. So we're going to add this same thing, which is this we have here. We're going to add it here also, and that's it. So automatically this should be done, and then we see same line, same place as well as before. So I feel this is not aligned perfectly, but then we can always fix that. I think this has to do with this. It has to do with leading tight. Let's see. Normal. Okay, nah, not bothering about that for now. That's fine. So we done with this, right? It's perfect. We have that aligned. But the problem now is that even with the fact that it's like this, we still see that the text automatically clips to the top. So that's a problem. So we don't want that to happen for many reasons. So we need to go back to where we have that. So the layout is already set in terms of the way it works and what is being displayed. Even though I know that we don't want that there because we literally don't want it to be there. So I'm going to remove this eventually. But like I said, let's get started with other things. Two other things I want us to work on. I don't like the font, the way it is. So we need to change the font from the way it is currently to another way I want it to look like. Right. So we are going to have to implement that too. So the welcome, let's go back to the welcome, which is this one. So we are using the text from there. So we need to set the line height to 50 just to make it look really okay. So in this case, I can set the line height to maybe 100. I know that is too much, but then for now it stays. But currently, same thing again. I don't like the text. We have to modify the text. I don't want that. So I already have a text downloaded that I want to use, right? Because if you look at the layout, the actual layout, the app layout, the text was set here. We imported the text from here. So I'm just going to do something else. I'm going to give space for two texts, generally two of them, space mono and the other one, so that we can change it at will. Because if you go back to the index, we can see where we use the space text here. Space mono here. So that means we want to use space mono once in a while, probably for any other thing, depends. So it gives you the chance to create multiple fonts that you want to use for your use case. So two things I'm going to do. I'm going to add the other fonts I downloaded, which was just a few minutes ago. Really, this is an app. I don't want that to be an app, for crying out loud. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to use this. No, I think I wanted to use one of them. Let's see the font I wanted to use. I was trying to pick a font. I was looking for SF Pro, the other one. I think I couldn't use that also. So I wanted to use this San Francisco font. I kind of like the way it looks like, but I'm actually using that anymore. So I'm going to be using, sorry, this doesn't have dark mode. So I'm just going to run through this as fast as possible. So I wanted to use San Francisco, which is cool, or I don't want Proxima Nova. It's cool, but it doesn't. I don't think it works for our use case. We want to create something that looks a bit formal, but still, still modern, right? And I don't want all of this art symbol because they're going to be using currency symbols. Currency symbols are very important. These are good currency symbols, but I just feel like I don't want to use that and pick something else that looks formal. So open source is a good idea. Open source is a good idea. We also have this called Muli. I saw Muli the other time and I was kind of interested in the way it looks. This is it. It looks cool, but still contemplating. We can have different fonts, so it's not really a problem for now. So I think two things I'm going to do is you're going to use the open font, which is Open Sans, or this. I don't want to use on Sans. So we're going to be using the Open Sans for our use case, which is this. I think this is good enough. But for some reason, for texts, I'm not really for numbers, I'm not really sure this is going to be a good idea. So which is why I was trying to look for one that has very good text, which I feel Muli does, but it doesn't really also indicate the text. So what we are going to do, we are going to work with this. We can always change it eventually. We're using Muli for now. So that was what we have. So this is the component we are going to be making use of. Everything that we need, most probably here. So back to the use case now. So I have Muli installed already. So I'm going to extract this. I wanted to say the structure, but then I'm going to just extract this. And once I extract this, I'll copy just the one I need, which is one. I think in this case, I just need one of them and not the entire thing. Because in this case, if you look at the fonts here, you can see the space mono regular, just one was available. So in our use case too, we can copy the entire thing, right? And let's see, what's the size of the entire font? You know what? Let me go back and check this. What's the size of this? Get info. This is about 504 kilobytes. Okay, so that's fine. It's still negligible. We could use that. It's not really an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dump that into the font here directly, and then copy that here. I'm not adding it yet, but just make sure we have access to the space mono. So I'm going to do this for all of them. So I'm going to say Muli. Muli is going to be Muli, then like this. This is the regular font. So if I'm not mistaken, that's the regular font. So we have the regular bold. So we have the regular. So I won't bother about italics for now. So I'm just going to copy the semi bold, semi bold. So what else? So I just want to implement four of them: the bold, semi bold, light. I don't think we need the light for now, but it's just good to have it too. So Muli light and Muli light. Okay, so that's cool. So now we have these four fonts. We are not going to be using Space Mono by default for all our fonts directly. So I'm going to be changing the fonts to use something else entirely. So that means going back here to index, I'm going to change from Space Mono for our title to Muli. Right, and that should automatically change it. Okay, it's not been changed. That's weird. We'll probably need to restart it or refresh. Yeah, so this should work because we already have this defined. Okay, so I'll do the same for, so I'll leave that mono to our space mono. The user text should be Muli, which I'm going to change. Okay, now you can see that it works after some time. So I changed this back to space mono. So I think it was just loading the font. And I think this is a good font for us to use, right? It looks fine, it looks simple, it looks modern, and it's cool. So we are going to make use of this. And for the light mode also, it's still quite okay, I think. So I'm going to use the Muli light. Let's see how it looks like for the text. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, so it's fine. It's not too absurd, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we are going to leave this just the way it is now. So I'm going to comment this out. So you can use the actual system font or the device font. That's what I want to stick with. So once we have this, now let's get started with implementing our actual design, which is this. So first thing we want to have is we want to have this at the top here. Then this use case is just going to be mainnet. We are not having this. We are not having a test net for this. The reason why I built this wallet initially, that's the one on Chrome Store, is so that it can be strictly for test nets and for development things and for explorations. It's not to use or to tamper with your funds. Your funds should be safe. The essence of having funds is so that it can be safe. There's no point gambling with your funds. It's a very not reasonable thing to do. Let me just say that. So we are not gambling with your funds in any way. So in this case, your funds are going to remain safe. You can't connect to, except you willingly want to connect your wallet to a site that you trust, because you know that this wallet, this app you are building should contain your real funds, funds that you can lose, that you can spend, right? So that's why it's not going to be supporting testnet. But for now, since we are still developing, it's going to support testnet. Until we are done, then we convert every testnet functionality to mainnet. It's just as a switch. It's not really complex. It's just a switch. We just change from a switch to testnet to mainnet, and that's all. We lock up. We are good. So let's start with implementation. I'm going to go back to the dark mode because I want it to look like this. And so two things I want to do. I don't want it to look extremely dark like this. It's too dark for our use case. So two things we can do is we can make a change. We go back to the app layout and change this from, instead of having the background color to be this, we can we do that? Can we do that? Can we do that? I don't think that's available to do, but we can do this instead. Uh, BG card background. So I'm going to do this. I don't this will make it dynamic automatically, right? So I'm going to remove this. So I don't want that background. I prefer this that the safe area does have. This should be a bit safer, right? So the background looks the same too, but I want this. I want it to be no, is it accent? Okay, yeah, you can see the color up here and down here. So I think the card is cool. Right, let me change back to accent. Let's see. Okay, I don't want accent. Accent is too light. Card should be fine. But card also doesn't look okay. Secondary should be okay for us. It's too negligible too. I don't like that. Okay, so let's look for a font. I'll look for a font that makes sense. We are going to make use of one. We don't want the background. We don't want this background. Let's see, it's not going to work. Yeah, not this. So we're going to use, there's muted, there's card, there's accent, there is foreground, we don't want foreground, we want the background colors. We don't want any of the destructive colors. We just want something that is subtle that we can work with. BG neutral should be good. Let's see if that works for us. Nah, I don't want that too. So BG neutral 900. Should 900 be good? I want something that is dark but not too dark. So I think this works. This works for us. This makes sense. So we can work with this, and that's for the safe area view. Then for the text itself, we can, like we already have here. If I'm not mistaken, now we have the container. Do you have any background here defined? No, right? So for the theme provider here, takes in value. Value is okay. I get what we have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another content style. I'm going to call the content, doesn't take class name, so we can use that class name. Okay, you know what, guys? Let's do it this way. We won't bother about this, right? We are literally not going to do this. So we are just going to leave this as we are going to not add value to this. Okay, it must have a value. This is compulsory. So I still want the text to apply to that. I still want it to have that reasonable text that we have. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to leave it as it was before. Let's take this back to so I'm going to remove this. So I'm going to have this back there. I'm going to add this back there. And yeah, so we're good. It's going to retain the black, the dark, very dark stuff it has. So it has that dark feel. We are going to modify it. We are going to modify it. We can always go to the background color or the light color here that we have. We have that in the tag theme that we already configured for this. You can see it's coming from theme.light.border or background. So we can convert it to not to be background. We can change the style from it to be primary. I think I like the primary color. No, where's the dark? The primary, no. Primary foreground. Yes. I think secondary works. Primary foreground is fine. So we can use the primary foreground. And let's see. Oh, no. What did I just do? So that's for dark, right? So we're going to use primary foreground. And let's see what color we have. Yes. So we have this lighter, dark color, which makes a lot more sense. I like this. For now, we can leave this here and we can always change it to yeah, we can always change it to something a bit more subtle, not too dark. In my opinion, not too dark, but not too light. So I think this is like the perfect blend of what we want. Nothing too crazy. And if you look at this, you can see that it kind of aligns in terms of the way it looks like. If you look at the colors, right? It's not perfect, but kind of aligns the color here with the color here. And if it doesn't work, we can always change it. Like I said, it's configurable. So it's easy to modify for whatever use case. So that's not an issue at this point or at any point in time. So we're going to leave this here. I'm going to leave this here and we're going to come back to this. And yeah, I think this is a color that kind of aligns with me more. I think so. And I might just have to stick to this for now until I get the better color. So I'm going to close this. We don't need that. So for now, we work with this color. Right? It gives us the ability to see the dynamic island and the other things that are going on within the app. So I think good for now. So let's go back to the index, right? Let's only open the screen we are working with. So inside of this, I'm going to create, no, we don't need this anymore. So I'm going to use the navigation, right? So assuming all works well with the navigation now, there's no issue. There are no issues. So I'm going to create the navigation in the layout. So that means there's going to be a general layout, which we have, which exists within the main function. So that layout is going to contain the navigation like we have. So we are going to, okay, it can't convert. So it's going to be the index page that contains, because this is just for our configurations, which we can also use for layout, but we don't want to do that. So let's use this index here and define that to be navigation here. Let's say navigation, is it bottom navigation? Yeah, bottom navigation. So I'm going to call it bottom navigation like this. So I think it doesn't take any parameters, it's just that. So yeah, so if I go back to this place, we need to import the bottom navigation. Say view config cover for component path must be function received undefined. Make sure the start name capital letter. I don't understand what that is. Where component path. I think it's coming from here, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or where exactly is it coming from? Is it the SVG? Oh yeah, the SVG. I perfectly understand that it's from the SVG. So yeah, it's from the SVG. How many SVGs do we have here? Another one. Another one. Wow. Okay. Another one. Wow. Okay, I think it's still going to complain. Got text has to have something. We can't use span. Oh, what did I do? Come on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is all this span here is going to change text. I'm going to change span to change span to text. I'm going to just, okay, so rather than doing this manually, I'm just going to change it at once. Change all spans to text perfectly, so we are good. Everything should be fine. Div, where is div? Do I have div here? Come on now. Okay, yeah, I'm copying this from, oh yeah, I still have it. Oh my god, sorry about this, guys. So we have this, we have it as nav. We need to add but some of the colors here will not work for our use case at all. Sticky might work, I don't know. We are going to flex it because we need flex. What am I doing? Flex row, items, center, and justify is not needed. So we're going to use the same thing for this view because now we're in the view, and I think we're good. Yeah, so this should be fine now. So yes, we have that. So does it work? Yes, but does it align properly? Definitely not. It looks terrible. Flex row, then this, yes. So it makes a lot more sense now. So we have that. But then remember, we need to stick this down here somewhere. So that means even if you are going to click or move, it's supposed to stay and retain that position. So two things we are going to do. I already have a, remember this thing I copied yesterday. I'm going to close the assets. There's this page I copied, page section, right? Page section here is a way of it's just a reusable component for the way I want the text to look like, all the text and all the pages to look like basically. So I'm going to be using this. There's a card section, there's a page section container, there's a page container itself. Page container uses the themed view. The themed view is just to work with the light mode and dark mode. I already created that, and then it's configurable and all of those things. So it's just basically something that's easy to use. So I'm going to change the index here to use the page container so that we can have the header, we can have the every other thing we need. So I'm going to change it from scroll view. You can see this uses this, and I'm supposed to use a scroll view here, right? So it makes sense that way. Okay, you know what? Let's just continue. So I'm going to convert this from a parent container. I'm going to wrap this in a parent container. So how do I do that? Let me use the shortcut to wrap it. So I'm going to wrap this in a page container. Yes, so we're good. So I'm going to wrap this in a page container. Close this, move this, open this. Cool. So everything is fine now. So this is what we are going to have. So if you notice here now, it doesn't give that scrollable stuff. It's still scrolling, yeah. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this since I know that the scroll container takes in the header which takes in the heading. The heading is just text and then the body. So I'm going to have the body. It should have something else after the body, which you can define. And that something else is going to be our navigation. So two things I'm going to do is this is going to be my page body. And if you see the page body here is basically what? It's just a view too, but with flexed. That is flexed to one so that it can stretch across. So page body. So this is going to be our configuration for our container so that we know that we have the same height, the same width for everything we are creating, like literally. So the configuration for navigation is going to be down here, not inside that, not inside the body as well. So we're going to have this. And so if I try this now, we should have this down here, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not. Why? So I'm going to remove scroll view because let's see if our page body works fine. Okay, so it doesn't seem to work as I expected. Why? Let's debug it to see. I think it takes in the class. Yeah, so PG orange 300 can perform a React Native on something. So why is it not being displayed? Is it because of that top thing? Okay, so I'm going to remove this layout then. Like I said, it was a long time coming, so I don't need it anymore. Yep. Clear off. We don't need you for now. Okay, so it's simple. I'm just going to say header shown false. So clear off. So I'm going to just refresh it since it's taking time to load. Come on, I've removed it. It shouldn't be displaying at all. Where is it? 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 Menu, not in the menu. Did I just remove the menu? Why do I keep changing menu and not the actual thing? Okay, so header shown false. All right, so it's gone. So it's, as you can see, this displays. So it's because of that it was not showing. So now that we have that, we can basically copy this, right? This stuff we have here. Since we still want to have it on the view to like be able to tweak it and press the to change the themes on the menu, so we can have the pressable menu and also be able to change the theme. So I'm just going to copy that inside of this place. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. The only thing is that the stars are not available and the router too is not available, which I'm going to import. Then the style.header, which doesn't really make any difference because I don't really say anything. I can just style it. We don't need any subtle stuff for it. So I'm just going to style it. Yeah, that's all. So I'm going to remove this scroll because we don't want this. But of course, this should scroll, right? It should. So what I'm going to do is I will uncomment the scroll and see if it works. It should actually because I've tested this before. So you see if I scroll this, it still scrolls. It doesn't really affect anything because it does. So then we can have our menu down here perfectly aligned without stress. And it's going to work as we expect. So we're going to go on this front, right? So everything is fine. So we've done 15 minutes. So we've already gotten our first page configured and our page container configured. So that means we don't really have anything changing or anything that should change with the way we've decided to use it. So what's the next thing for us to do in this case? So I'm going to remove this orange. No, I'm going to leave it until I'm done with the configuration. So I'm going to change the way the menu is displayed, the theme. So I'm just going to give this a padding of 8. It's too much, but then I just leave it. Yeah, it is too much. So a 4 should be better. If I 2 should be okay. For me, in my use case, 2 should be okay because it's just temporary. So yeah, go there and stay there. So then I can remove the PG orange now because our page body works. We confirm the page body works. If you want to add the page header, it's as simple as adding this to it. We can import the page header as well. And as you can see, page header is imported also from the page section. So we can have that also. If you go to the page section, I'm going to close the layout. You can see the page section also has a page header that is already configured to take the primary foreground, which was what I was talking about the other time. Primary foreground, that's the height, all we already defined for what we want to make sure it works perfectly well. So no issues. So what we need to do is I can use a page heading. Page heading is just a way of to configure the text. So we can say on page. I'm just going to do this. Page heading, you can see home page already defined. So I can decide to say show the back button in this case, show back button. And if I use the show back button, it's going to display back button for me, which is cool enough. This for our use case, this is perfect for what I want to implement. So I don't really need anything crazy, but you can see that this works perfectly well for our use case. But we don't want to use a header in this case. We don't want the header, not do we want the heading? Okay, we want the header heading. So in this case, what we can do is move the header. We don't want the heading, but want the header. So move the view that we created just here into the header so it stays at the top. And this doesn't affect our scroll. So remove the back show button and we do this. And then we can flex this and then convert this to, since this also takes a class name of with full, we can automatically flex rather. So we can see that it takes that. We don't want that. So we can use this to say flex one and automatically it should go back to the way we want before. So this is perfect, right? We already have this, we have this, right? And it's scrollable, we can do whatever we want inside of this and it works fine. So we have everything set up, but we're not done yet because the navigation doesn't look the way we want it. And the background for the dark mode works, but it's not perfect. So we want to make it perfect. We want to change the icons should be there. So we want to use the iron icons again and say home. Of course, we still want to use the SVG that I have because I have good SVGs I can use, preferable to this, which I like. But for now, let's just go with this. I'm going to copy all of those ones because I have them implemented somewhere else. So I'm going to copy this as 20. Yeah, it's cool, but it's not perfect. I don't like the way it is. It's not fancy enough for me. So but then it works for now. So I'm going to use the sharp, right? I'll use the sharp or the outline. I like the sharp, not the outline. So I want the sharp. I don't want it to have the edges and stuff. So two things I'm going to do. The PY doesn't work for me. I want it to be way higher so it has more room space. But you see that the beautiful thing about the configuration we have now is as much as we change all of this, right? We can still see that it still scrolls perfectly well. And we can still get our padding, our room space for our items, which is the main body. So that layout makes it easy for us to move fast creating stuff. So that's exactly why we are using this design library initially. So we are good to go on this front. We're perfectly okay. We are aligned. We are safe on this front. So two things I'm going to do also is it's not exactly the way I want it to be, or I would love it to be, because I wanted to use a button in this case so that if I click on accounts like this, it takes me to the account page, it takes me back. You can see that it works perfectly well. So yeah, it does what I want, but still not perfect. So going back to our example here, which is what we see, we can see the account is just wallet, right? So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create an iron icons also here and say iron icons wallet here. So we are going to say wallet sharp in this case. Well, let me just say wallet. I think wallet is fine. So wallet sharp and size is still 20. So make it big enough. But looking at the way this looks compared to the way this, you can see how these icons are fancy and beautiful, right? So let me show you the icons I use for that one. So for the icons I use for that one, it's called phosphor icons. It's phosphor icons I used, but I'm not going to be installing phosphor icons, not the package. I like using the SVG because I only need like 4 or 5 of it. So I don't like installing the entire thing, which is just going to make the app bulky. So even if there's tree shaking and stuff, it's literally not needed. Since I'm going to be using like 5, 6, 10 of it. Okay, I'm going to use a lot of it because I did use a lot of it initially. But like I was saying, so this is it. So if I say wallet, you can see the wallet I use here, which is this one. So if I copy it for React for that, but I don't need it for React. I want the SVG, which I can't use for Swift, which is what looks like this Flutter Helm. So it's cool, but we are not bothering about this for now. So I just wanted to show you guys what I use for that. So we're going to stick to what we have until we need to now go to the beautification stages and then we implement what we want for it to make it fancy. So I'm going to what's the next thing? Yeah. So to make this both the links to, so it will like it won't be aligned horizontally, but it will be aligned vertically. That's exactly what I want to implement. So we're going to make this. So it's a button currently, right? You can see the way it's aligned, but it's a button. So we can I add the button inside the link? Yeah, I can. So it makes this way. So you can see the way it is. So we're going to add the button inside the link. We can't use the as child in this case. Oh, we can use the as child here. Oh, that's cool. So we can use the as child on the link, but we can't use the as child on the button. It doesn't exist on the button component. So yeah. So we can't use that. There's no point using that. Let's just not let's not make it weird. But let me try it again. It's going to complain. Does it? Does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, that's fine. But then I still don't want it to look this way. I want it to, so for our button, right? If you use it as a button, it's going to look okay, but it's not exactly what we want it to look like. We want it to be um in this case, we don't really even need the button. We have a link within inside of it, so we don't need the button to be there. So I can just, I'll take it back to what I have before, right? Like this, and change this. The link should be inside the button. So this is because we set the class names for this to be flex, right? So flex column in this case, and justify item center, so that the text and the icons are aligned vertically. Okay, that seems not to be working. Mhm. Okay, so the link is not working. So I still need to wrap this in a view. Oh my god, this is just too much work. No, not doing this. Not doing that. So rather than doing this, I'll just do this. So instead of having nested stuff, so I can class name my flex column. Yeah, item center. Yeah, so instead of doing that, I'm going to just do this instead. So that's what I'm going to do. So the same thing applies to every other button that I have here. I'm going to do the same for every other button. I'm going to add a class name to them. So I'm going to use the variant. I'm going to do this. Yeah, perfect. For this button, I'm going to align it. We don't have, I think we have a pretty installed, so let's not even bother about that for now. So I'm going to do this also, move it out here. Perfect. We spent 1 hour already, so let's see how far we can go today. The idea is to build this as fast as possible, see how far we can push ourselves, to see if we can complete it. I believe we can. Yeah, I'm positive we can. We can create all the icons. Like I said, we are creating all the icons we need today. So all these screens we need today. That's the essence of our work today. So we can do that. Am I going to do it? Definitely going to get that done. So let's copy this to make our work faster. Copy, paste, 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 paste. Same thing applies. Networks, we don't need networks actually. We're going to have a network at the top. So we are going to move this down here. So we're going to have this here. The last one, we're going to do the same thing for the last one. We're going to move this inside of this place. Move this here. Nope. So move this here. Okay, perfect. So we're good to go. So let's change our icons. So we still need to have dynamic icons for the text like we had initially, but we'll come back to this when we have the as backup thing implemented. So I'm just going to have the settings icon. As you can see, the settings icon was what we used here, but we can't use it anymore. So I'm just going to have the ion icons. I call it settings in this case, and size should be 20, just as normal. So I think 24 will be good. 24 will be a good number. Okay, so leading, relaxed. So I have to add leading to all of them now to make it okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's fine. Right, so I think we are good on this front. So the configuration works so far, so good. Our configuration is fine. We have our history, truncated icons, text. Oh, we are not aligning this. Why do I have this? Why do I have the class name here? This is awful. don't like this. Okay, so I'm going to have the text. Uh, so I'm going to have this here. I'm going to have the class name. So we don't have the relative. Okay, we need the relative for if I want to add some icons to the top of it. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this also to this one. Then I'm going to add this to this one, and then that's all. So we are good to go. So all the icons should be fine except for the send, which we've not implemented. What are you doing? So send ion icon send also is perfect. Size is 24. In this case, I'm changing the size from 20 to 24. So 20 to 24 and 24, which is one again. Size is 24. Okay, so yeah, perfectly perfect. Like I said, the icons will change, so we won't worry about this for now. So I'm going to flex this because I want it to be flex 100%. So it's going to cover the entire space. Perfect, right? So for the receipt, so I'm going to make some changes so that when we click any of them, we know which one we are actually clicking at any point in time. We need to know that. All right, so if I click on account, what happens? Nothing happens because we are wrapping a button inside it. Oh no. PR. Oh, PR must be a function. Oh yeah, we have that in the send. Yeah, we have this yesterday. Terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. So we wrote some weird stuff in the history page. Also, we had the PR, so we can have something like that. Then I think the accounts too, if I'm not mistaken, it's there. All right, so but we've changed. So now that we removed that, let's try the send. So send works too. So I'm going to reload it because there's no way to go back. So I'm going to go back to navigation and add as child to the link so that the button takes the property of a link and work as a link. If not, we won't be able to click that. So clicking the account should take us to the account page now. So no issues so far. So you shouldn't have any issues at all working with this. So what's the next thing to do? The next thing to do here is add as child to this, as child to this, and yeah, we're good. So clicking on the accounts page, it takes me there and then back to the original implementation. So going back to, so we are done with the application for now. I'm going to close it, close the send, close whatever page we are not working with, so we can have a clean workspace. So next thing is to remove all these links that we created yesterday because we are not using them anymore, right? So now let's begin with creating this view that we have here. Let's begin with creating this view. Now to create this view, we know that we need um oh no. Okay, sorry guys, just give me a few minutes, please. I need to respond to this. Sorry guys, I had to just take that. So back to uh so let's proceed from where we stopped, right? So we've already done all of this. I just noticed this is blocking the screen, so I'm going to shift this so it's no longer there. If I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I think this works. I don't know. Let me confirm this. Does this look fine? Oh no, this is terrible. This is awful. No, it doesn't. Okay, so I've just moved this up a bit so we can understand or we can see what is happening there, or kind of like move this into here so we can have a better view of what is happening. Okay, so I think this is fine now. So I'll continue with this and okay, I'm going to move this up. Let me see if I can adjust this. Okay, I can adjust it. All right, so I can move it. I can move it to another location entirely. All right, so I moved that. So now we should be able to see everything fine. Shouldn't be an issue. Okay, so let's proceed. You spent like 10 minutes wasting time on not being available for this. So sorry about that. Yes. So let's proceed. We want to now create this, right? Which is our intention. The next thing we want to do. So it means we have our home set up. First thing we need to do is to implement this. So we need to implement the network. So like I said, I'm not going to implement all the integrations today. We just want to work with the layout. First thing I'm going to do is we don't want this card anymore. Like we don't need the card for now. Why? Because we are working with mainnet. And the reason why I specify this is so you know that only testnet is supported. Only testnet is supported. You know that this wallet, like I said, is just for testnet, but the one we are creating here in the mobile app is just for mainnet. So yes, that is also important. So we are going to create this view, which is this account name. We need the account name now. Then we need the account wallet address, and then the balance and the equivalent in dollars. So we need to create that. So let's start with that. So that means I need to remove certain things from here which we do not need. And if we notice this, the avatar we created yesterday, which we added, let's see if we can add that back to it because I want to have that. And I believe I've added the avatar already. So if I copy this, it should work. I think avatar doesn't exist because I was supposed to import it. What was I doing not importing it? So we import this, and we're good. So if I save this, we should have everything fine. Yeah, we should have it displayed this way. So which is one of the things we want to work on. So I'm going to take this back. I'm going to import that in the which is meant here, and that is going to be inside of this to be outside of this place. I'm going to have a view here. Okay, so I'm going to implement the avatar again, import the avatar, import the avatar, import the avatar from here. So I'm going to use this. This will be the avatar. I'm going to change the size. I think I can configure the size. Let's see the props that are available to us. So there's no prop. I think the example should give us a sense of what we have. Okay. The border, nothing more than that. Yeah, then there's aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is just for images, basically. So we don't want to bother about that. So go back to the avatar. So we can see how easy it is for us to add those things to it. And then to configure our avatar also, we can use the avatar group if we have that. Okay, there's no avatar group, it's just okay. So but then we can configure other things, like the way we want it to show, the size, the width, you can do that. So I'm just going to configure this, which you can see is going to be the class name for the avatar itself. So class name is going to be size. It's going to be 6. Let's see how big it is. Does it work? Yeah, it doesn't work. So I'm going to say the width is size is 12. Yeah, it works. So size is 12, right? So this size in this case is supposed to be my what they call it now, my profile or whatever, in case you want to have your profile image and stuff. But in this case, you're not going to have a profile image. You're just going to have, this is going to be empty for now, right? And it's going to show ZN. In my case, it's going to show my name. So I'm just going to show this, right? So it's going to show my name. So in this case, if I click on this, I want to have something happen. I want to have drop downs and stuff. So that means that takes us to the next thing I want to implement. I want to have drop downs like this with optional configurations like this. So that means I want to have this drop down. Then we have to have this QR code. Now the QR code here is just an extension of the dialog box that was just configured to look like this. So that means it's easy for me to copy that same functionality. And how do I do that? I simply go to the let me look for something that should tell me instructions. Scan this QR code. So I'll just look, I'll search for scan this QR code. Yeah. So scan this QR code. So that means I have this QR code component that I should be able to use to implement that functionality. And it doesn't really have much except for the store that I have not implemented. I keep saying I'm going to implement and I keep forgetting to do that. So now let's do that. But before doing that, let's get some other things installed. We're going to need the card dialog. Yeah, Flex doesn't exist here, but it exists in Radix, which is a good thing to have. Okay, so let's say dialog cards, and so but before then, let's look at some of the things we already have installed. And some of the things we have installed are the alerts. This we have the alert dialog, but I need the actual dialog to install what to install based on what we have here. Install card dialog. Yeah, okay, we're not using the tooltip, so but I'm still going to install it because it will come in handy eventually. So I'm going to copy this card and dialog and tooltip. So it should be the same name. So I'm just going to do this now. Card dialog tooltip. So that should install all the packages that I need for that here. So that should give us a sense of what we need to have. So then next thing we need to do is start using the store, right? Because we have certain store. We have the UI store in this case. The UI store is used just is a Zustand store, right? So like you said the other time, there's Zustand already implemented here. So it means that the functionality works for us. So we don't need to look for another way to install Zustand and set it up. It's already there. So we can just basically, I think it should work if you just copy and paste. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it should. So I'm just going to copy this folder. I don't need the background bridge. This is just for the extension that we created, the sync storage for the extension we created. Yeah, do I need this? That's a question now. So I need a type of different things: wallet account, custom account, minute allowed, and all of those things. So this is quite different. Well, I'm using this is for the extension, so I don't think I need much of what is here. But you know what? I'm just going to copy it and I remove what I don't want. So I'll copy this store directly, paste it here. So we won't waste time. And this is going to exist inside the source because everything that we have already works with the source. So I would like to maintain the same structure. So I'm going to remove the background bridge. Like I said, background bridge doesn't work for our use case because we are not using it for anything here. Actually, it's good. It's a good thing to have because the background bridge means when you have certain functionalities, like your wallet is unlocked, you want to update the store, you want to do this, you want to do that. This is a good functionality to have, but we don't have all of these things. We need to have the config for the chains, which we need from here, right? Config for the chains, which we need from config, which we need from here, and then we need it for alchemy and all of these things, which we do not have. So I think I'll just copy this also, and I'll paste it here inside the source config, and then we are going to start to fix some of these things from there. So I know we are trying to create this from scratch, right? And I'm just picking pieces that we already have created from other projects to make it work for our use case. So that is possible. But I know what I'm not going to do this because I don't need most of this. Like for instance, I don't need this alchemy thing. I don't need these chains because we are going to be using the chains coming directly from. Okay, you know what? I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove the config directory that we have. I'm going to leave the background bridge because it might make a lot more sense. Set up the background bridge. You don't need this because this is for, you already said what it means for, right? So I'm going to still create a config. I'm going to close this. I'm going to still create a config directory called config, and the config directory is going to store certain things for me. So, but currently now we don't have any of this, right? Send to background. I'm going to have these functions here, but this is just for send to background script. It's just for how the wallet should work. Event listeners for the wallet, and basically because it works for Chrome extensions and stuff, it works. But this case, we are not working with Chrome extensions, and we are working with actual stuff. So um, we already know that we set up our Alchemy MCP, right? So that we can make requests to our LLMs to get certain things for us from Alchemy based on how we define the MCP and other things. So I'm going to leave the background bridge. Of course, some things are still missing, like get chain ID. I still need to be able to get the chain ID. And you can see that happens here. Get the chain ID and other custom things should work, which I feel like I don't even need at this time. And I really feel like I don't need because you're working with mainnet accounts. So they are quite unnecessary for our use case currently. Mm, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to comment out the logic because we want to re-implement most of them. The reason is because I still want some of the functionality, like store this. The store should have a selected network, like what is selected network and all of those things. The structure of how Alchemy's chains itself. Alchemy has it that defined, not using the default chain setting. So let me show you what I mean here. So if you go here, go into the documentation again, Alchemy documentation. If you go to the chains, right, you see that chain has its own. No, not here. Okay, let's check. I think it should be here. No, not here, not here. This is just the documentation for all the chains. But there's a way the chains look that I would like us to check out. So if you go to supported chains, you will see that these are the chains supported, right? Which you already saw. I think I showed this like some time back. So there's this multi-chain guide that is here too that we can use. But what I wanted to show us is the type, the interface, right, for the chain, the way it looks. Now this is how it looks like. We have the chain mainnet, which is coming from the infra and all of those things. We can use it this way directly, so we don't need to change anything. And you can use the use chain to use multiple chains. You can switch between them. So you see, once our app is configured to use multiple chains, just like we defined here. So we need to go and create our config. Remember, we did that in the smart account creation, if I'm not mistaken. We did that within our project. But the point here is that some of these things we won't use now, but we still need to create a store and we need to make it work for our use case. In this case, we have the wallet account. The wallet account is just a structure that was created here, which I might make use of because it is needed. The wallet account in this case is just an interface that takes in the name, the address, the private key, the last time, and all of these things, whether imported or smart or all of those things. So we want to be able to know that yes, that means we'll still give you the ability to import your wallet here, but it has to be a smart wallet. But for now, we are not going to give you that privilege to do all of those things. But you can. So we are still going to copy all of these things from this come from code. So we have a type here that you can use. You're going to copy the types because it's actually very useful. So we don't need to be writing our types. Eventually, to write it. So I'm just going to paste that here by default. So clicking on the types, you can see Oh, I think there was a type before. That's weird. I didn't create this. Okay, I think he just merged it. So we have the type here. We have this one, which is coming from VM. We don't really have to worry about this. Then we have the token symbol. Then we have the stored accounts. Then we have the transaction type. All of these things should be coming from. I think Alchemy has support for all of these things, but I'm not entirely sure. That is why I can't vouch for it like this. But we should be able to use this because I want us to have a consistent type with Alchemy all through. So first thing I'm going to check is let's check the SDK reference, right? We should see if it has some of the things we need. Like for instance, what are the type aliases? What of do we have chain? Do we have the UI config store? What does it have? How can we use it? Right? We have this is modal open, all of those things, but we don't want all of this. We want other things like the wallet client, the type aliases for the wallet clients, the list account params, the chains. I want things about the chains. Now, these are things we should also design, determine why we are working because we need them. We need them. We can't just assume that, okay, we will just create it anyhow. We have a lot of misplaced types. So if we really want to build like versatile systems that you know that yeah they can last, you want to have this implemented and designed. So you want to have your type properly designed or properly constructed. So those are important too. So I'm trying to look for the types I need so we can make use of them. Okay, this is not exactly what I need. Interfaces. Okay, so we have a transaction interface type, transaction signer interface. Okay, this will really help me. Uh, use chain. Use chain uses a chain type. Or can I access the chain type? No, I can't. Why? Why can't I access the chain type? Well, let the alchemy provide all their types. It's awful. Okay, yeah, this is it. So this is the chain type. The chain type is no, not this. The auth type. Okay, yes. Now this makes a lot more sense because now I know that I can access the type from Alchemy itself. So probably their React library counterpart. So I need some of these things, right? We don't need to want to create them, also, but we need to still create some of our own interfaces, like for their wallet account, because we want to assign names to our wallet for easy, for you to be able to easily remember them. Alchemy doesn't give you all of those things. It doesn't give you a way to create the names. You can do that yourself, so there's no point it giving you that. So you can always get the private key. But in this case, we want to get it. Alchemy has a way of getting the private key, so we don't need to get the private key and store it in the wallet account. So we want to know the date the account was created, the time it was used last, the account type, right? So if you talk about the account type, you can see there's the auth type here. Sorry about the noise, guys. I think I'm walking around close to my place here. It is loud. This stop. Thank you. Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, just All right, so sorry guys, the noise is still there. I was hoping it was going to be just maybe not that much, but then it is a bit. So hopefully the noise doesn't get as much my into the recording, right? So I'm just going to try to isolate the noise as much as possible so that external noises don't come in. So yeah, I've done that. So hopefully it should be better than it is. Yeah, it was. So this is how I was just trying to set up multiple chains in this case because okay, so I don't want to set up the transport because you assume that transport has been set up. So I want to set up multiple chains because we are not trying to make use of one chain. We are making use of multiple chains. So all the chains we want to make use of, we want them to work for our use case. So in this case, now this is what we mean. In this case, we can say this is default chain. Our default chain in this case is Sepolia, but we can define multiple chains because we don't want it to be just Sepolia in this case. So I can say, looking at how it is configured here, you can see there's mainnet from the infra, there's Sepolia as this is how it was defined. So the default chain is this, but you can default define other chains as this. The mainnet optional, which is optional for policy. You can specify a policy ID for this chain if you want to sponsor gas. So in our case, like I said, we are going to sponsor gas for the users. Remember what when I did this send transaction from here to this wallet yesterday. Remember I didn't pay a dime because if you look at my address, it's still the same balance I had like yesterday. Let me refresh this because it's locked by now. So if I go back to account, you will see that I still have the same balance as I did yesterday. Meaning that even if I don't have any balance, I should still be able to send because I'm sponsoring gas for the user. So we are going to be implementing something similar. We are going to sponsor gas for our users. So we have that. I'll copy the policy ID and add it to it. But for now, we don't really need it, right? Because remember, we need to also push that to our build so that we can use it. But those will be things we are going to implement going forward. So first, let me just scaffold that. We are going to going back to app because it's in app.json here. You can see the way this was configured for the app. So I think it's here. Okay, yeah, for the alchemy, right? Like I said, this is just the demo API key. So we are going to also implement the policy ID like this ID, but this is going to have a different um, use case. So I'll add the policy ID to it once we are ready to use that. So it's just going to be something similar to what we have. Constant dot export this dot this, and then I'm just copy this, paste it here, duplicate that. So it's going to be policy ID in this case. Yeah, that's it. But I've not added the policy ID, so it's not going to work. So yeah, fewer hoops than expected. What's that? Okay, so what is this noise crying out loud? All right, so we have this. I'll just please just ignore the noise, right? Please. Um, then we have these chains. So I'm going to define multiple chains, not just one. So looking at the example of how it is done here, we are going to duplicate that as well. So because we are going to be using the game same gas policy for all of them, like literally all our chains that we define because we have access to about 45 chains. Remember, we said the chains available for us. Okay, I'll go back to those places. So this is how you can change chains if you want to set it out. So this will be like very basically implemented so that we can have chain configurations too. So I'll set up multiple chains. So the first one is going to be mainnet. I'm going to set up mainnet. So all the chains that are available to us basically is what we are going to set up. So because Sepolia provides us with all of those chains. But then in order not to like write them manually, I have somewhere where I wrote them here in the config here. Maybe I can just fetch all the chains. I think I did that somewhere. It's not in the config. Networks, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, it's in wallets. So we did something similar in wallets, right? You can see we imported everything from infra here. So it's basically these are all the available wallets that is provided for us by Alchemy. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to copy all of them literally because it's the same. You can see everything's coming from infra. So in order not to duplicate them, I'm just going to copy Arbitrum. I'm not going to be using the ask keyword, right? So I'm going to be using all the chains available for us by Sepolia. We're not going to be using all of them immediately. So in fact, there's no need doing that. Let's just make sure we have like 10 chains for now that's available. We're going to have testnet and mainnet wallet that we can use to test our use cases. So I'm going to, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to replace this with this. Sepolia is here. Is it here? Yes. So I'm going to change all the ask keyword finally. So I'm going to remove all the ask keyword here. So that means we have the same thing we have, and I'm going to change this with this. And this, voila, we have that. So Cello is no longer available. Sepolia. That's weird. So that means it has changed. But then you can see that we have Sepolia. These are all the chains by default available for us from Alchemy Infra. So this is what we have. So we have just 9 minutes left. Let's see what we can create before we wrap this up. So first thing is I'm going to allow Sepolia first, and you know Sepolia is already defined as our default network. So I'm going to define mainnet also. That's mainnet, Ethereum mainnet. I'm going to define some other ones like Arbitrum, right? I want us to use. That's Arbitrum mainnet. I'm going to define which other one. Let's define Arbitrum base. Let's define base Sepolia too. I want us to have base Sepolia because we want us to test that. Then, of course, like I said, we are not using testnet, right? But this is just for example purposes. So then we're going to define Polygon. No, I don't want to use Polygon for now. So let's do optimism. Yeah. Yep. Let's do optimism also. So we can add other ones like ink. We can add other ones like Hyperliquid. I think Hyperliquid is available, right? Did I? I think it is. Oh no, it's not. Okay, but it was defined as available, but it's not. So yeah, let's add ink also as the last one. So we're going to add ink as the last chain that we support. Ink mainnet, basically. So that's it. So we are not adding any other chain aside from just this few. Render fewer hooks. What are you talking about? All right, so we have all of this defined. We can add other ones. We can add all of this stuff as much as we want them. So let's assume we are working with just this number of just this chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can create something that uses that chain, right? That's available for us, and then we use that for our use case. We can also use Tell AI to use this because we've already imported it. So which is why we have this. It's cool like that since we already have it. So I was asking questions the other time that what do we need for the chain? So apparently we are using Alchemy uses VM for the chain. I checked the other time from the GitHub just sure, and what I noticed was it uses chain from VM, right? If I zoom in, you can see chain is coming from VM. So that means it uses a lot of VM types by default. You can see it's from type of chain. So that means it's from VM. So that means we can use something similar in our own use implementation to define. I won't really bother much of that then since we already have that. So the other thing we need to check is how do we change chain? So let's say we want to have it down. Remember we need, so I'm going to select install this drop down menu, which is similar to what we want to implement. So I'm going to install this package since we don't have that. So I'm going to go back here 6 more minutes. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to implement this select. Let's see what other things we want to install. So we need the select, we need the menu bar, we don't need menu bar, we need label, we don't need that. Input, yes, we need input, but not now. Tabs, maybe, not now. Switch, yeah, definitely we need switch. So I'm going to install this switch also. And what else? Text area, toggle, tooltip, text tabs, skeleton. So skeleton, I'm going to install the skeleton also. So these are 3 I'll just install for now. But the one I need is a select because we want to implement this feature. Select all of this. So we need that. So we are going to implement it. So how here now you can see the way this works. So if I change the chain, right, it will literally give me the chain I changed to. So in this case, if I change to list Sepolia, you can see it will load the chain ID, so I can be sure that I'm actually connected to the right chain, not just any chain in this case. So that's one of the things I implemented to the way it works. So that way you know the chain you are connected to, not just the name. You can't be deceived both on the name and the chain and the ID. You can see everything here by just looking at it. So back to Sepolia in this case. So going back here, what we need to do is to implement this functionality which we have here, which is how do you change the chain, right? So that should be possible for us to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this, right? Because I want to. So first thing is we want to have a select button. So I'm going to use this code from here, the select. So I'm going to use the code from the select, even though the select is a bit different from the one we implemented initially, but this one has like the group also, which is usable and it's scrollable. This is also scrollable. So we want the scrollable type. So we're going to copy all of this as what we need. But in our own use case now, we need both the, we don't need the fruits, but I'm going to use that just for now. We need that. This is the example. This is how we need all of this. So let's check if everything is we imported and set up was fine initially. So adding this to here, so it's going to be added to the header, right? So we are going to go back to the index and I'll add it to the header because that's where I want it to reside. What I should have done basically here is to create a component for it, which I think is still the best thing to do. So I'll create a component for it and I'll call the component network selection or chain select, similar to what you have from here, right? Chain. So I'll just call it chain selection or something. So I'll create a new file. I'll call it chain select like that. So I'll paste all of this here. So I know this is just fruits, yes, but so I'll just call it chain select. That should help our use case without even thinking much about it. So I'll add the chain select to the index here, and it's going to be added before this menu icon. Now, I know we want to add that, and we still have to change some ways those things display, but then I'm still going to have it as chain select. If I'm not mistaken, how is this? Is it even in the component? Scrollable select preview. I'll change it to chain select here because that's what I want to have it as. Yeah. So import that from here. So we've imported it, so we should be good. If you select this, primitive select cannot be found. What are you telling me? I've installed it, crying aloud. Okay, so probably we are missing an import. Something is missing. That means we've not imported everything as we should. We need to go and install it then, because we should have that already installed. If we did it this way, then we should have it installed. So let's check the UI to see what is installed already. We have this, we have icon. Oh, we have the icon too. So icon can be used. Oh, nice. So we need to install Lucid React Native also. pm add Lucid React Native. So if this still gives us the same errors we have now, then I'm going to need to install rm primitive select manually so that we can get it to work. So how do we do that? Remember from where we tried this yesterday, that's the rm primitives we used. We had when we check rm primitives, right, we saw there's a select there. So what we need to do is install this rm primitive, this. So I'm just going to add this because this doesn't seem like it's working.
It's 18 hours.
So let's reopen our simulator to check what we have and start rounding up. Before we round up, just want to be sure that we have all the screens implemented. So funny enough, I've not committed anything I've done so far, but I've created a repo for this though. That's I can share, make use of if you want it. It's literally open, so you can use it for whatever you want. You can tweak it, you can open it, you can cheat, and do whatever you want to do with it. So it's literally open, and it should work as expected. I keep having this error. What's this error about? Render method of slot clone. Function component cannot be given refs. Attempt to this will fail. I hope this will bite us in the future. It's going to be a problem. All right, but you can see from here we have this. And if you select this, you can see that we can literally click, we can select, we can scroll, and it works as expected. So that means we have what we intend to have, and that's fine. So implementation works, but this is not what we want to have because remember we said we want to have the networks, not that. So what we want to have actually is the network, but we have fruits as our data source for now, but we can always change it to the network, and that can always work for us. So what's the next thing to do? We need to go back here. You can see that it's similar to what we have here now. If you click on this, you can see we have the name, which is the name group, and then we have all of this. So if you select this, I have that selected. What is this U text here? Where's it coming from? Oh yeah, that's supposed to be the check mark. Why is it showing as U? Probably it's just well, we'll resolve that in time. So let's proceed for now. So what we're going to do is show this as this first of all, this name, right? We want to have this name, the name of the chain, the ID, and other details. So that's what we want to design and show. Um, so that means we need to change what we see, the item, and the way it is displayed. So currently the fruits is what we are using, that's the fruits data, but we can change it to use the chain itself. So what we need to do is I'm going to copy this out. That's the network I created here in the config. Where is it again? Okay, what am I looking for? Session provider, yeah. So from the session provider, what we can do is we can export, we can make all these chains available and then allow them to be exported, basically. So that we can use them from wherever we want to as our default chains. That way we can also just look through them here rather than writing them manually, right? So that's one thing we can do. So I will just copy this. I will tell AI that I want to use this. Allow so first thing I'm going to do is I'll create this. This was some of the things I was working on when I was trying to resolve the issue to get this style to work. So I'm going to add that to for the context for the AI first. I want to there's a lot of unused imports which I understand. I don't care about the unused imports. Just okay, I want to return all of these chains as an array. Okay, you know what? I don't need AI for this literally, now that I think about it. All I need to do is create a chains in config and I chains in config and then I paste this here. And once I paste this here, I do not want most of this. I just want um, chains. I want the chains and then I want export const. Okay, chains. So I want it like this. So it's just going to import all of them for me, except for the alchemy and the chain. So it's going to import all of this. So it's going to be arbitrum. So I'm just going to paste this now, and I'll say add this to add this as context. I want to export all of these chains so that I can access them and their properties from anywhere by import. Can you provide that here? So this is something simple. I don't just want to have to write the entire thing and import at the same time. So you can just get it to do that. Rather than what am I even doing this? Rather than doing that, I can just do this and copy here and paste it here, and then we are done. But the thing about AI is guys going to read through the code base, understand the code base, and probably implement it in other places for me. For instance, in the chain select, right? He already knows, or according to what he wrote here, that I'm going to need it for the fruits. Instead of fruits, it's going to change it to chain. So I should have access to it from there. So it's basically going to do the same thing here. So I can have that by just exporting the alchemy chains and doing that basic copy and paste here. But let's just see what it's trying to do. I don't know. It says I can see the chain set is currently using this, no actual blockchains. Let me understand the network first. Understand chains may be structured in this project. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so what next? What next? What next? Okay, this is taking time. It's too slow for my liking. I'm just going to do it myself. So I'm going to import this. So by doing this, I have access to it here and everywhere else. But even though not by value and other stuff, at least I have access to it by just getting the imported directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to touch the fruit. I'm just going to be using something else as my reference. So it's going to be alchemy chains. How can we change the map? It's going to map the fruit, so it's going to be fruit dot ID because the ID is different. The label is going to be the name, or maybe something else. I don't know. But for now, the name, and then the value is going to be the value should be the ID2, I guess, or the source ID. What's the difference between the ID and the source ID? I can't remember now, but I think we'll find out eventually because we'll create that. So we'll call this the name. So if we do this and number is now assignable to type of string, okay. So we're going to change the value to be source ID. So it's still a number. It's not assignable to type of. The label is also going to be name, so the value is going to be name, I guess. So let's do that for now. So if we go back here and check it out, we should be having no longer Apple, or as you can see, we are having Arbitrum 1 and all the other chains, right? So literally we've done that. So I'm going to change it from fruits to mainnet chains. So I'm going to also capitalize on that because I want it to, nope, I want it to capitalize. I want it to be uppercase. So that should work. 100% mainnet. And it's not going to be selected fruit. This will be chain to be the default chain. There's no placeholder this time around. So the value should be okay, there's no value. So I don't want a placeholder for it. I want the actual thing selected. In this case, there's no need by for value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this because we don't want it to be value. We want it to be the actual chain. So I'm going to use that as the it's going to be text. So it's going to be text. Text is coming from source components and UI text. So we're good. So we are going to have that here. The placeholder is no longer needed. I don't need the placeholder. So it's going to be the default chain. The default chain in this case is going back to our chains that in the config. So it's going to be what's my default chain? Okay, so there's be a way to get default chain from Alchemy. Let's check that out. Um, why is this complaining? Doesn't need that by default. Placeholder is missing but required. Oh, okay, so placeholder is missing. So this one is select chain. I'll just call it select chain in this case. And then going back to our Alchemy documentation, we should be able to get the default chain. You should be able to get the default chain, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I think there's a way we did that here. This default Alchemy chain here. So we can export also the default Alchemy chain from here. Oh, not default, define. Let's say, is it default? No, there's no default here. Okay. So the default Alchemy chain should be coming from our config, which is config.chain, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, now for now I'm just going to call it Sepolia or something. Export calls default Alchemy chain equal to mainnet. So we're going to call it mainnet. So that means if I come back here, no, I'm going to call it Sepolia for now. So that means going back here, I should be able to use that as default Alchemy chain. No, default Alchemy chain. So imported. So I should have Sepolia as the value. So remember we checked the chain yesterday as Sepolia as the default chain, and it still works fine. So if you select the chain here, which chain am I selecting? I've not selected any chain. So going back to our chain select, we're no longer using the fruit, so I can remove the fruit. And we don't want to call this fruit, so I'll change it from fruit to chain. And we have what's the next thing to here? The value. The value here is going to be what is being displayed, not select chain. So it's going to be what's the value? All right, let me check the way I did it here. I don't want to have to rethink that. Home. So in the home, we created not the callout, we created the wallet header. The wallet header has the network segmented control. We have the item, the first one, default value is network type. Okay. So I don't think we have that here. Default value, okay, yeah. Default value is default Alchemy chain dot name. So if you do the same thing here, is network. Okay, no, not the segmented control, the select now, which is network selector. So network selector is select, which is similar to what we have here, but just in a radix-like view. So we have the trigger here. In the trigger, we don't have the value. We only have the trigger. So the trigger here selects this. Then we have a value for it defined on the select itself, which is the select set network.id. Then for the item, let's see what we are using here. We are using the text value is name, value is this, and is this. Okay. All right. So similar to what we have. So the default is complaining that string is not a single type of option. What is option supposed to be? Okay, let's see if it works. Still not working. So this becomes a value. Name. So yeah, we have string here, then we have our type of option, then our default value, and like that, we have all the properties we need. So it's complaining of the option, and I don't seem to know what option is. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. Okay, let's see what option is. Option is value and label. Oh, okay. Value. So the value here is what chain dot name. So that should be the same thing dot name. So you shouldn't be complaining to me. All the same. It's the same thing. So we have the selected network. So that means we need to be able to define what our selected network is. So we are going to go back to Alchemy to use the selected chain implementation, which is here. We are going to use the use chain, set chain, and select chain. And then we are going to use the hook already provided for us by Alchemy to implement this. So there's a set chain hook that React Native already provides, the Alchemy already provides for us that we can use. So it's going to be chain. It's going to be chain, and this will be on value chain. Going to be set chain. So on set chain is going to take in parameters of chain. So literally is different. So it's not like just passing it. So we need to pass in something like this to it, and we need to pass in the configuration like this. So I'm going to set it like this. Chain is what's the chain that was selected. So in this case, it's going to be chain dot so on value chain we are setting the name. Actually, that's what we are doing here, and the chain we are setting is basically we choosing. So we can, I think what we can do is use the undo set chain here. So we can use the function called undo set chain, and we can create another state and call that state use state here, and it's going to be chain select. No, let's call it chain, and let's call set chain set temp chain. So call this temp chain and set temp chain. So that's what is going to happen here. So we are going to create a function called undo set chain. So I'll call it function undo set chain. So the undo set chain is going to be the one to use the set chain function that Alchemy provides. So that means we need to provide that chain here that we are going to use. So we need to provide that as a parameter. So we are just going to set in the args as chain, because that's actually what we are using. We are going to be picking this from VM. Remember that Alchemy also uses the same thing. So it's of type chain that we are going to be using. So that's the type we are going to use here. So we're going to be setting chain. Here it's going to be like this. So we're going to be setting the chain literally this way. And so there's no error because it's of the same type. So that works perfectly well. So, but this is complaining because string is not assignable to option. I know. So we are going to use that here. And so when we change chain, we are simply saying that passing the value, value here, and set it to value. So value in this case is an option that is being passed here. So in this case now, this is going to complain. It says, so I'm going to remove this first of all. So this is going to give, it says option is not assignable to type chain. Undefined is not assignable to type chain. Undefined is not this and this. Change, I'm just saying change signature. So it takes in label and value, which is different from what we want. So, but we still want it to be of type chain because the value we get from here that we set from here from the value here is going to be what we want to display. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. So basically, the value here is the option is just a type of the option is just a type of value and label like this that we can always modify, and then we can pick from the label we selected, right? So I don't want us to do much on this because we still have to implement other stuff. So, but then this is how it's going to be. So on change of this, we are going to set the chain and we're going to set it to this value. So it's going to be undo chain and automatically going to be, let's just say undo set chain without passing in anything because we already understand what it's going to be. So undo set chain is not even going to pick this. We're just going to make use of, we are going to set we are going to set temp chain to, so the value of temp chain we are setting into this is going to be, since we already know the value we are passing here as value, we know that we are passing in these parameters. We are passing in value, or let me say option. We are passing in option here. So we are taking in, so we are passing in label and signature. So in this case now, this set temp chain is going to take in label and signature, and then we're going to pass that into our set chain implementation, just like we see here. So we are basically saying that, okay, whenever I click this, whatever I click is what you are setting in. You are setting in the chain I click, basically. So that's what we are deciding here. So so the value is going to be chain dot name. It doesn't matter if there's an error here, like literally, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to change that as string. We are going to typecast this eventually. So it's expect 0 got 1. So this is string is now assignable type of option. So I don't need to do all of this. Like I just need to use it as any, and that should literally work. Because even if I don't do it this way, I can just use it as chain, and chain will still throw an error because it says chain is not assignable to type of option. So it's still not going to work. So it doesn't really matter. So except we typecast it, and we can't typecast the value because we can't change the parameter, but we know that we can definitely get the name and the chain from it. So that's one thing we can do from here. So another thing we can do is we can set the chain as our value here. So we know that once we pick it, we assign it here automatically. And then we can say chain is going to be, our value here is going to be name, label is chain dot name, and value is also chain dot name. And that makes sense. But rather than doing this, we can also just say so we don't even need this first instance, and then this works. So what we can do, you can do the same thing for the on value change by just setting the option that we want to pass into it as basically just saying that this is set chain, and then because set chain takes in the chain value, so we are going to be passing in chain. In this case, that's the chain that was set, or in this case, it's going to be the temp chain. Now, temp chain is going to be a chain type, but we don't have it currently because we don't have this function set. So that's another way you can do it, basically by just assigning the chain that we selected. And how do we know the chain we selected? That's the value here. So the value is the chain we've selected. So if we do that here, that should automatically work for us. The type of string, so we can't do that. Right, so successfully solved the issue right now. So if you go back here, you can see the default is showing Sepolia. If I change to base, it should change, but it doesn't change. So that means something is wrong. So it changes to base automatically, as you can see. So if I click Arbitrum 1, it should change to Arbitrum 1 by default. So I can select Arbitrum Sepolia 2. Why do I have to select twice for it to work? So it's simply because of this. So if I'm not mistaken, it's because of the way this is defined, but we can always fix that. That's just an inconsistency. So it needs me to click twice. The reason is because it doesn't propagate the first time and then the second time also. So this has to be like this. It has to take this. This has to be, because it don't specify the type. So it has to be a chain type or undefined. So that should solve the problem. So we should be good on this front, right? Basically, we have implementation working, and it seems fine for now. So what we are going to do is we're going to stop here for now. We've done. I wanted us to just do 2 hours on this, getting it to work. But so far so good. We've created all our screens. We've done the layout for the screen configuration. We have all our screens that we can move to. Then we can proceed to create it from here tomorrow. So that means you still need to copy some of the things we already have implemented, paste it here, and then reuse them because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? And you can see that as I'm changing the network here, it's also reflecting here as well. So if I click on Arbitrum 1, for instance, I also click it twice, you can see it changes. It changes by default automatically. So let's select a different chain. Let's select Celo. Let's see what Celo is. What is happening? It's not selecting this. Okay, we need to fix this here. This is the reason why this is happening. So if I select this, that's why it's misbehaving at this point here. So I can also just do this, set chain, and then pass in the chain to it. Like this. This should still solve the problem. So if I select this, it should automatically work. So I think it's picking networks for some reason. I wonder why it's so picky. Maybe it doesn't support all the networks. I'm not sure. But it does according to the documentation, so it's supposed to work. So once we refresh this, you can see what we have now. So Arbitrum 1 works, you can see. Base work, you can see. Let's pick another one. Bearer chain. Let's check Boba mainnet. Boba doesn't work. So it doesn't change to Boba for some reason. So I think the set chain function is just selecting based on supported networks. So it's fine. Our implementation is fine currently. We don't need to do any other thing to get it to work. Fractal doesn't select, but Polygon should work too. Wow, doesn't. Okay, so far we have this. Why do you keep throwing errors? So select chain works. We have our chain selected. We can move through them. So first things first, we have this already set up. We have our chain set up, even though it doesn't look the same way. There's something breaking. I can see you for some reason, which should not be there. So I feel it's just a text issue that we have to resolve. But this is what we have. and it's fine. You can also add this to it, like add the buttons to it. Like you can see here, you can see how changing cello should change the text and other things. So that's one thing I also want us to implement here. So it's going to be chain dot name like this. So once I select it, I'm expecting to see something else, not this value. So I'm expecting to see this. So yeah, something like this. So that way I can configure it to what I want it to be and how I want it to look for our use case. So we don't need to have this trigger and then it doesn't work for us the way we want it to. So we can always customize this however we want, add some other things to it, like the avatar we have, add the avatar to it, and all the other functionalities, right? So we can do this and we can see changes. So that's basically what we have for now, right? Literally. So there are other ways we can do this. We currently know we have the chain. We can set the chain by default. We can implement the onPress function to set the chain for us, so we don't need to do that. So that means we can change the chain like we have here and go back to Sepulia and change to Sepulia just like we have, and we are back to Sepulia. The balance, and you can see the balance changes for all of them at will. So we've done this also um, perfectly to make it work. So another thing we can then do is, before we wrap up this session, is to clean up this index page so it looks different for when we begin tomorrow. So the first thing I want to do is to remove the org ID. I'll remove the org ID, remove the so for the Solana address, we don't want to keep that for now. For the chain, we already know we have our chain here, so it's literally not needed here. For the light account also, I'm going to just comment that out. So we have the address, this, and this. So I'm going to also remove the separator. I don't need the separator, but my email is still there. I still have my email, remember? So we still have that. Then the chain also, so the default chain, what's the default chain again? We have chain gotten from use chain. Yes. So gotten from use chain, we have that, and then we have the Sepolia, we have this, and we have this. All right, so that's basically what we have. So everything works as we expect for now, and we can remove all of this documentation info that says things like. So we know where we are starting from, right? So we don't want to, let's leave that for now. It says not that you have a smart account, use our docs to use the sponsored stuff, and we have all of that. So that's basically what we have, and that's how we can continue. But one last thing. For the accounts page, I want us to have something. I want us to go to the layout, and I want us to change something from the layout. So from this place, we have our header shown to be false, but we have it to be true for the, which page was that? I think we had it true for one of our, okay, yeah, the default index. We have it true for here, so which is supposed to be false because we don't want it true. So if I go to accounts, it should have the header, which should not be. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to accounts and use the page layout we created. Remember the page section we created the other time. So I'm just going to leave this. I'm going to create page container. I'll do this. So page container automatically has a page header and it has a page heading, and going to this place. Remember, we also have this account, and the account gives us your account. So something similar to your account is what we are going to add. So we are going to add your account. So inside of that, we are going to have our page body, and then we are going to have that. And after that, we are also going to have the footer. That's going to be our buttons to change and to create new things. So we are going to create that view out here. So the view is going to have two buttons. So we're going to copy the button from that. So we're going to have two buttons. So the buttons are going to and it's going to gap by 2. Right? Or let's make it 4. Okay, 2 is fine. So we're going to use the first button as a solid. The other one is going to be a secondary color type. So we're going to have class name. The color for this is just going to be BG primary. If I'm not mistaken, primary is okay, let's make it secondary. So let's call this import wallet. So we have also an icon, ion icons. Let's import that from vector icons. So let's give it a name. I call it download or import. There's no import, so let's call it download. And size is 16. So you should take the color of the texts of the. I think you should have the color of the button. Well, I guess so. You should. And the other color is just the other button is just a solid button. Add new address. So if I'm not mistaken, this should work. So if I go here now, we're going to say show back button for the page header. So automatically it's going to show this. And voila, we automatically have this. So we are going to add our text to the button. So we are going to have that here. So currently it's going to look like this, which is terrible. But we are going to have flex 1, which will make it make sense. No. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And we're going to that's how we want it to be. So we are going to have a padding of 4 here. So it looks like this. So we are going to increase this to 4. And I still think 2 is okay. But let's leave it as 4. And the padding should be 4. So it takes both of them like this, space down there, and everything should work as expected. Then this text should also have this. And this should work, new address. And what else? Yep, so we should have this, and this should be primary. No. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So this is not what we want. We want the text to be blue 700. So it's not going to work because it needs to be on the text itself. But the button itself should have a variant of not destructive, secondary, but the background should be 300 because we want it to be light. All right, so I think that makes sense. We have that, and we have our text from React Native. No wonder it's looking that way. So I'm just going to do it secondary. So our text should not be coming from there. It should be coming from here. So yeah, this should be fine. So we have this. Then for the ion icons also, so we have that also. So everything should work fine now. So we should be able to click this and click this, and we should have that working perfectly well. Okay, one last thing is so yes, we have that. So we have the account set up, and you can see how easy it was setting it up. Yeah. So one thing I want to also do is the page header doesn't really align perfectly as I want it to. You can see this size is quite small. So I want the size to be actually big. So I want to call it 32. So it will work for all of them. And then it should doesn't respect the height of that, so we need to make it respect the thing relaxed, so it automatically works for that. Tight, yeah. So you should. So we can't stroke the color, which is the font, which is something I missed from Lucy. But basically, that is it. So let's right. So this is where we are going to wrap up this today. It's not because we have this already implemented, right? We have the accounts page, we have our home page, which should look like this, even though it's not perfect, but at least we have our accounts page looking similar to it. So all we need to do is now just show our accounts page, and we can see that the same way we have our chain across board, we also have the same thing implemented currently. We have our chains already implemented. We can change the chains just like we can change the chains from here to change our chains from here. We can do the same thing here. So we are moving along. We have good progress currently. So we can go to change our chain from Sepolia to like base, for instance, and you see that automatically triggers to base. So if I go to the account, I come back, I still have base across board. So another thing is, before we wrap up, let's add one last thing, which is the alerts. So we have this alert here, which is supposed to display just an alert, right? So I'm trying to replicate what is here when you go to the accounts page, so you can know the network you are currently when you click on the accounts page. That's very useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install. Okay, I think I already have alerts installed. Let's confirm that. So if you go to UI, yeah, it is installed. So I'm just going to make use of it. I'll copy an example that exists, which I think is a good one, or this one. The second one is a good example we can use. So I just copy this and go back to my code base and go to the account section, the account page, and paste that in the body at the top, very top. So we're going to import alert from the components, not from React Native now, but from the component itself. We're going to import that from the component. I'm going to import the terminal. So it says there's terminal, which can be imported from, so we can use Lucy React Native now. That's available for us to use. So terminal is coming from there. The alert title from, excuse me. So we're going to give this a color. I think there should be a color. Okay, it doesn't have a color, but we can give it a class name of green. Green 500. I think I want to use Ascent green 500. So going back here to accounts, we can see we have this. But for some reason, we see that our colors are not really working the way we want it to. Some things are missing, some things are breaking. First thing you notice is that the font, the font doesn't, the icons rather, doesn't work. You just see this U, which should not be. Same thing happens to the background for, okay, the colors work actually because we tested colors. You can see the BG works. So but we don't want it to look this way, but the icons do not work as expected. So probably there's something we need to work on or change or something. We still need to fix that. And that's basically why the icon for this also wasn't working, right? All the just showing you when it should be showing us the check mark and the drop down, but we can always come back to that. So we call this emerald. I want to use grass. Is there grass? No grass. So there's a green that we can use, and it's 600. Then I'm just going to make this a bit faint, so it makes more sense and aligns with what we have currently. So going back to accounts, I can see this, and the title as transparent. So this that will not have a color. So I just want it to look similar to what we have here. Now you see this color is a bit more vibrant, so it's a bit more emerald color. A bit more emeralds 800 or 40, and the text is also big, not big, but it's pronounced. And then we have the icons all working, but currently the icons for our use case do not work. So we can always find a way to fix them, but for now they don't work. So we can change the icon by using something else. We can use um, the iron icons, right? And that should work for our use case too. So in this case, we have this text and we have the account page. So what we want to display here is just the chain that we have currently. So I can get that by saying const equal to use chains. So use chains is coming from this is coming from account kit. So we have the use chain, right? So automatically we have that, and then we can say chain and set chain, right? From, if I'm not mistaken, that was how we used it. That was how we used it in the auto provider, right? Or in chain select, yes. Oh yes, it's not like this. Set chain, but we don't need set chain, we only need the chain, right? Because we're not setting the chain, so we are just displaying you are on the chain dot name, like that, something like that. Here we are on base network, something. So this will give me the background is going to change, then the text is going to be something like this. So you are on this, and then the text size is going to be base, something like that, and yeah, something like that. So that is a bit that's quite weird looking, but it works for our use case, and we can make this large. We can retry it, and we see this. Now the colors are not really as vibrant as what we have here currently, but that's the essence of we working on it. Eventually we will get this to work the same way we expect it to over time. So but currently this is what we have. You can see the similarity here. It's not entirely the same thing, but it's similar. We have the address. So the add address field, just like when we click on this one, you should create a pop-up like this. You put in the name and it creates a new address for you. But we don't need to do that. For now, we are sticking to just the features we are working on, and we are sticking to that. So the next thing we should do here is we go back to your account and we proceed from here. We can see it still works, just that we are making modifications to it. So we can apply this same pattern to every other page that we have here. We just copy this, copy the container, and do the same for the send. So for the same page also, we do the same thing. We say this is the send page, right? For the same page, we do not need the chain and we do not need the alert. I think we still do for the chain and the alert here for the same page, but then for now, just assume they don't exist, or basically we assume they do, and then we just import chain also, use chain, and voila, we're good. Yeah. So we're going to copy this and import it from React Native, and same thing applies. So we are going to do the same thing for the history page. History page does not need the alert, so we can always remove that. And we don't need that here. In the terminal. So this is going to be your transactions or something. I think it's your transaction history. So it's going to be your transaction page. This is your transaction page. So we don't need all this button. Our transactions do not need any of the buttons. So we are going to remove that from transactions. Send does need something like that for when you go to the other page. Then that is not what we want to think about now. The last thing is settings. Settings also looks like this. So when you go to send, this is how it looks like. You first select the account, very dynamic thing. So then settings do not have that also. So our settings is just going to be strictly, this is the settings page. All settings are applied here. So we have that also. So this is what we want to implement. All of the settings. We have the security features whereby it's password protected. So that means we need to have a way to set your password in case you want to log into the app, whether you have your password. In this case, you can use password or passkey. As you can see here, this is seed phrase backed up. This is the extension. I'm showing you what we have on the extension so we can replicate it. But currently we have this same thing implemented, right? And literally that's what we're trying to figure out and implement as well. So we have the auto lock. We are going to implement the auto lock whereby if you leave your device for a while, it auto locks and the gas sponsorship is active. I can deactivate gas sponsorship for here so that every user needs to pay for their gas, but we can always make it available for users if we know we are capable of doing that. Currently, I can, so and that's why I'm making it available for users here. So we have all of these functionality that we are going to implement. So let's test if we have all the pages working. Okay, one last thing, we do not need for settings, right? We said it. Because change is there, we don't need it. So we don't need that. This is settings. Let's see what we have. Settings, just settings. So same thing applies to history. We do not need that in history. Okay, this is history screen. Let's test it out. Let's go to send. We see this similar. So send still gives me the account page, even though it's like send transaction or something is what it should be displayed. So send transaction, yeah. So it should give me send transactions. Literally the same thing, send transaction, send transaction. So we go back here, we go to account, we see we can navigate easily. Just in 2 minutes, we're able to replicate everything we want to. Everything works perfectly well. Text works. Um, for send, for settings. What else? For history, we have that also. So we are all good to go, as you can see. So we have all of this. Then we have the history page, same thing. The settings page, same thing. And these are pages that we can make use of automatically. That means you can use them and they can work for our use cases. And you can see scrolling works and all of those things. And you can change the settings as well. Changing the themes also work because you can see they work accordingly. There's no difference, there's no disturbance, no glitch. So everything works perfectly well as we have them. So this is what we have for today. We've already started with all the screens, like we said, but integrations are not done. So by the time we come for the next part, which is going to be part 4 of the series, right? Part 4 of the series is going to be about making all the components available. As you can see, we've already done the scaffolding of the components. We have our styling library defined. We have all our, so we can simply implement this header by passing it here, removing this menu and taking it to the settings page. We can do that. And then changing this to our own personal profile view, then changing the theme also and taking it to the settings page, moving this to the right, just like we have here, adding the QR code functionality. And then from there, we go to accounts, we set up our accounts, set up the wallet and import. Then from there, we go to the send, we do that, we go to the history, as simple as possible, then the settings. Settings takes us to other settings, other pages, and we are done. So that's basically what we have. So I hope you guys have learned something from here today because we are trying to make sure we can build this in a week. And we're in part 3. That's the 3 of this thing. And then we've gone this far. Even though we had challenges in day 1 and day 2, but we can see what a little persistence can do for us. So this is where I'm going to stop today. And I'm going to proceed from here tomorrow. And we're going to also move fast as we did today tomorrow, just to make sure that we cover ground as we intend to. We create everything, we create the result we want to see, and we fix it. And some little things that we want to fix also, like the icons not displaying properly for the default icons that comes from wherever we install them, and all of those little things. We get them working, we flesh it out, we compile, we build, we deploy, and if possible, we can take it to probably the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and everything is going to be done here so we can see. So yes, that is it, and that's going to be today's video. So hope you guys have learned something from here. Hope you guys have been able to gain very good information, right? Good knowledge on how to do this and get the errors you made. So thank you so much for the series. Subscribe and to like this video and share to someone that you feel is also important to, because I feel like we are all learning together. You are, so also share with someone that you feel like is interested in this and that should know what we are talking about here. I really appreciate that as well. So feel free to also do that, and that will be very much welcomed. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See you in part 4 of the series. Bye for now.